Hi everybody, I'm going to read you the story, The Three Little Javelinas. It's going to go with our theme, the three little pigs, the three little everything. Once upon a time, way out in the desert, there were three little javelinas. Javelinas are wild, hairy, southwestern cousins of pigs. Their heads were hairy and backs were hairy, and their bony legs, all the way down to their hard little hooves, were very, very hairy. But their snouts were soft and pink. One day, the three little javelinas trotted away to seek their fortunes. In this hot, dry land, the sky was almost always blue. Steep purple mountains looked down on the desert where the cactus forest grew. Soon the little javelinas came to a spot where the path divided, and each one went a different way. The first little javelina wandered lazily along. He didn't see a dust storm whirling across the desert until it caught him. The whirlwind blew away and left the first little javelina sitting in a heap of tumbleweeds. Brushing himself off, he said, "I'll build a house with them." And in no time at all, he did. There's his little house. Then along came a coyote. He ran through the desert so quickly and so quietly that he was almost invisible. In fact, this was only one of the coyote's many magical tricks. He laughed when he saw the tumbleweed house and smelled the javelina inside. A tender, juicy piggy, he thought. Coyote was tired of eating mice and rabbits. He called out sweetly, little pig, let me come in." "Not by the hair on my chinny chin chin," shouted the first javelina, who had a lot of hair on his chinny chin chin. "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in," said Coyote. And he huffed and he puffed and he blew the little tumbleweed house away. But the hullabaloo, the first little javelina escaped and went looking for his brother and sister. Coyote, who was very sneaky, tiptoed along behind. The second javelina walked for miles along the giant cactus plants called saguaros. They held their bright red fruit high in the sky, but they made almost no shade, and the little javelina grew hot. Then he came upon a Native American woman who was gathering sticks from inside a dried up cactus. She planned to use these long sticks called saguaro ribs to knock down the sweet cactus fruit. The second little javelina said, "Please, may I have some sticks to build a house?" "Ha-hoo," she said, which means yes in the language of the desert people. He was so hot, look at him. Do not disturb. When he was finished building his house, he lay down in the shade. Then his brother arrived, panting from the heat, and the second little javelina moved over and made a place for him. Pretty soon, Coyote found the saguaro rib house, and he used the magic to make his voice sound just like another javelina's. Little pig, come let me in," he called. But the little javelinas were suspicious. The second one cried, "No, not by the hair on my chinny chin chin." "Bah," thought the coyote, "I'm not going to eat your hair." Then Coyote smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." So he huffed and he puffed, and all the saguaro ribs came tumbling down. But the two little javelinas escaped into the desert. Still not discouraged, Coyote followed. Sometimes his magic did fail, but then he usually came up with another trick. See him? He's hiding back here. The third little javelina trotted through the beautiful Palo Verde trees with green trunks and yellow flowers. She saw a snake sliding by, smooth as oil. A hawk floated round and round above her. Then she came to a place where a man was making adobe bricks, which are mud and straw. The bricks laid on the ground, baking in the hot sun. The third little javelina thought for a moment. She said, "May I please have a few adobes to build a house?" "Sí," answered the man, which means yes in Spanish, the brickmaker's language. So the third javelina built herself a solid little adobe house, cool in the summer and warm in the winter. When her brothers found her, she welcomed them in, locked the door behind them, but the coyote was following their trail. Look at them, they look so sad. Little pig, let me in, he called. The three little javelinas looked out the window. This time Coyote pretended to be very old and weak, with no teeth and a sore paw, but they were not fooled. Not by the hair on our chinny chin chin, called back the third little javelina. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in, said the coyote. He grinned, thinking of the wild pig dinner to come. Just try it, shouted the third little javelina. So Coyote huffed and he puffed, but the adobe bricks did not budge. Again, Coyote tried. I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. The three little javelinas covered their hairy ears, but nothing happened. The javelinas peeked out the window. Like they're so scared. The tip of the coyote's raggedy tail whisked right past their noses. He was climbing upon the tin roof. Next, Coyote used his magic to make himself very skinny. The stovepipe gasped the third little javelina. Quickly, she lighted a fire inside the wood stove. What a feast it will be, Coyote said to himself. He squeezed into the stovepipe. I'll eat them with red hot chili sauce. Whoosh, zzz. So they're gonna light a fire. They're looking out the window. Then the three little javelinas heard an amazing noise. It was not bark. It was not a crackle. It was not a howl. It was not a scream. It was one of those sounds like yip, 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 ah, yow. Away ran a puff of smoke, shaped like a coyote. Can you see him? There's his feet and his hands, and off he goes. The three little javelinas lived happily ever after in their adobe house. And if you ever hear Coyote's voice way out in the desert at night, well, you know what he is remembering. He's sitting up here. The end.